Hello, this is Anthony with Copley, showing you CMO input events. So here we have an XPC connected over CAN, node ID 1. We're connected to CME over serial. Okay. Look at the I/O. You can see the I/Os here. I have input 1 and 2 not configured. We're going to be using those for CMO testing. So in here I have a CMO, really short, small project that I created here. So the first, I'll just walk you through it. The first, these are all standard in our examples. We have the CAN node address, the network object, some lines for creating a debug log, the axes, the amplifier object. Then what we're going to be doing is creating an event object. So here we have the load function. This will run once on startup, where we will be initializing these objects, initializing and starting the network, So what I'll put here at the end is I'm going to set up the event object. So we'll just say set up an input event to trigger on the logic high of in1 or in2. So that's the way these input events work, is that they will trigger on the logic level, not the transition. We'll just say event obj equals amp obj dot create input event 3, because it's 1 or 2, that's the mask. CML event condition, CML event any, because we'll trigger on either 1 or 2 going high. Then we'll do, I created a function in here. We want to trigger that function whenever the event gets called. And then we want to start the event. So we will have it be true for repeating. And then if you want to listen forever, if you want to wait forever in between events, you'd use -1 or any negative value. But I'll set it to 1 minute as the timeout value. So if nothing happens in a minute, that event object ends. So it's more of a thread safe way. You put a timeout value. And then that starts the event object. And so here we have our private void. This is the function that's called whenever we have an input that's triggered 1 or 2, triggers the event, and in 1 or in 2 goes high, we get this, trigger this function. If we have an error, we will kill the program. If not, then we're going to, then I'll just say we'll display the inputs in a binary on the console. So print out a string, inputs in binary, and then we will write binary representation of the inputs is, and then the inputs. Okay, and so every time this is triggered, we're going to read out which input was fired. And that's it. We have some thread safe closing functions, displaying error messages. So we'll be reading the console then, just to see how this works. Okay. So I'm connected to over serial, so now I'm going to trigger IN1. And we see, oh, there we go. We got IN1 down there. Okay, now I'm going to trigger IN2. Nothing happened. Why is that? Well, that's because we have to reset any input that fired the event. So any input that's already high, we have to reset it. And now we see input 2 can fire that function as well, will trigger the event. So yeah, that's how that works. So you have to reset the inputs if you want them to trigger the input event. But yeah, that's how you use input events in CMO. And yeah, I hope this was helpful.